Lurker. Yo, Frank, Johnny, Chris. So the first thing I want to say is that I have not shipped anybody's Bagley's because PayPal will not let me ship. It won't let me buy shipping labels for some reason. So I've tried to delete my card and re-add it, and every time I go to buy the label, it says that there is an error, uh, and I can't get it out. So hopefully next week, or what's today, Saturday? Hopefully Monday I can get it figured out because I need to get shipping things. I really don't want to do it the long-handed way, but I can. I might can use another. It's gonna be a pain in the ass, but I have to take everybody's addresses and then write them down and use another online service to do it. But are they're still here. They're safe, but PayPal's being a royal pain in my ass. Um, in other news, so I went to this antique store. It's not an antique store. It's like a thrift. It's one of those thrift malls where I don't even call it a thrift mall. I don't even know what you'd call it. It's a giant building, and they've got it blocked off into little cubes, and you like rent the little space, and you set up your own little mini store inside the little room. So it's one of those places. And Amy wanted me to go look at this little thing you put behind a bicycle to like pull your kids in. One of the ladies had one of them there. So I drove over there and I started looking around. And this guy had some fishing lures. And he said, you'd probably like my shed. I said, what's your shed? And he said, I've got probably 4,000 fishing lures hanging in it. Really? He said, yeah. He said, here's my card. Give me a call on like Wednesday. Maybe you can come by the house and snoop around. Okay. So, uh, we'll see. We'll see what's hanging. Hopefully I can get over there and snoop. But I don't know. I don't know what he'll have. I bought some stuff from him before, but um, 4,000 baits hanging on the wall. That's a lot of baits. I don't know how many that is, but I'm guessing that's probably, I don't know, 100 or so. 4,000. That's a lot. So he said, he's like, yeah, I buy that stuff all the time. The question is, the better it is, will you be more or less secretive about what you found? I mean, uh, I mean, I don't know what I would. I wouldn't be like giving out the dude's phone number, but as far as the baits, I pretty much know all the baits that I look for. I really don't shop for anything like secretive that I would keep a secret. I'm trying to think. Uh, and I buy stuff when I see it for people that I know like it. Um, so there's some stuff that I'd look for that I wouldn't necessarily buy for myself. It would be for like a customer of mine that I knew liked a certain bait, uh, and like hunted for them, buy them for them because more than likely they'll want me to repaint them. So it's win-win. Um, and if they don't, they just send it to them anyway. But I mean, is there anything I would like feel like I can't show anybody this? Uh, I mean, no. Uh, Whatnot wholesale supplier could be, could be. I thought about that, and I was like, I could probably tell this dude, be like, you want to get rid of this shit? Let me tell you about a little app. Download this on your phone. Set up a light, and get in front of your phone and start hawking this shit one at a time or in groups, whatever. I said, you don't even have to set up at your flea market, whatever you want to call it. Uh, but probably won't do that. Maybe I'll do it for him. Maybe I'll be the middleman. But like I said, it depends on what he has. If he's got a bunch of old like wooden creek chubs and shit like that, not my thing. If he's got 80s and 90s baits, which I would hope for, then would be good. But yeah, if he's got a bunch of old, because I don't know, like I'm sure some of that, I know a lot of that's valuable, but I don't uh, I don't know what's what from that kind of stuff. Like I said, my knowledge starts in the 80s, 90s, the era I lived in. Um, so besides the old Bagleys in the 70s, besides that, pretty clueless. Um, Gator, 80s and 90s to me that was I don't know. I mean, I feel like it was probably the best era of like well-made hard baits. A lot of junk out there, but I don't think not as bad as it is now. Um, but like I found this guy in another dude's booth today. Very, very early Bandit 200. It was in the middle of one of those like glass cases, and it was a bunch of belt buckles and like military pins and like just like trinkets. And uh, I opened it up and I pulled this out and I said, "How much you want for this thing?" And he said, "How much will you give a feller for it?" And I said, "$1." And he went, okay. It's like, yeah, I don't think anybody's coming through here beating your door down to buy this 200 Bandit for more than $1 or $2. He could have probably squeezed $2 out of me, but um, one 200 Bandit in the horde, just what I needed. But it needs a paint job, so I don't feel so terrible about destroying it. Um, 80s and 90s was the best. Wish I wasn't so young and kept all my gear instead of selling it on a tag sale, trying to buy rims for my truck. Anthony, do you still have the rims and do you still have the truck? Because you could sell the rims, buy back all your old gear. But I was very, very like protective over my fishing tackle. Like nobody touched it. It was never like out of my. I knew where it was. But all my buddies, dude, they would leave their tackle boxes places and like give them to their friends and be like, "Here, take like use my tackle box." And they'd somebody would take it and then they'd like break half the lures off and give it back and like they just didn't give a shit. But I was obviously different. Builder dude, what's up? Builder dude. Oh, you want to see the color I painted the lipless Barnsey? I went blue crab with kind of a browny, rusty red back because I wanted it to show up a little bit. But I wanted a crab, so I painted a crab. That's just for me though. It is a perfect crab imitator. 6-inch lift on a 99 Blazer with 33s. 99 Blazer, you mean a Tahoe? Or like a S10 Blazer? If it was a Blazer, like an S10 Blazer, that would have been huge, dude. 6 inches on a S10 would have been massive. Ball joints replaced every 6 months. Yeah, that's like kids now. They take a truck like mine and put a damn 6-inch leveling kit on it. Burns, it didn't blast them per se, but it caught some. It was I did like I wasn't trying to like we were pre-fishing for this tournament this weekend, and I wasn't trying to deplete the population, but it picked up some stragglers. Kind of toxic. Anthony, now that you're older, would you like to re-own in like your childhood vehicle? What's up, Stearman? Would you like to have an S10 again, Blazer, with a lift and tires, but maybe a little more power? Like if you were like walking around and you went to some like car show and some dude had a jacked up S10 with like a LS swap in it, and it had like the 400 horsepower and like the good tranny and all that kind of stuff, would you be like, I'd kind of like to have this? Or would you just sit there and tell war stories with the guy about all the dumb shit you did when you had a S10? Brother, get your first car back. The Ford Escort. Had a 99 S10 with Altiza style headlights. My buddy had a guy I went to school with. He had a crew cab. He had a crew cab Jimmy, like the GM's S10. It was a truck, and it was always weird looking. And it had a little bit of lift on it and probably like 33s. But now that I think back, I think about how badass that truck was. But I don't see many driving around anymore. But cool truck. Cool truck. Speaking of mini trucks, there was a I don't remember what it was. I'm not a Dodge fan or owner. I've never been into Dodges. But me and my buddies were driving back to Tuscaloosa. Or we were going fishing. I don't remember what we were doing, but we were driving around, and I had a Tahoe at the time. And this guy, we were at a red light up in Jackson. He like acted like he wanted to race us. And he was in this like shitty looking Dodge Dakota, like mini Dodge truck. And I didn't realize it. And it was like newer body style for the time, like early 2000s, whatever. And I didn't realize it, but Dodge put some like hopped up motor in these Dakotas. And dude, when that light turned green, that dude disappeared. Like I'd never seen a truck that fast. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, no wonder that truck was so fast. It was basically like a Viper truck. Oh. Mole can't stay. No good juice today. Down South Bassin, no boat show for me. No, I'm clear. I was clear coating baits today. My boat is in no shape to fish out of. I have to take the whole bilge apart because when I pump water in my live wells, the overflow, like it doesn't stop. Like if I turn them on, I think one of the pumps is cracked and it just pumps water into my boat. Because I almost sank my boat last year. I was going to keep some fish to eat, filled up the live well, threw them in there, and fished for about an hour. And I started noticing that my trolling motor was having a harder time pushing my boat, and the back was starting to sag a little bit. I opened up the compartment to the bilge, and my batteries were floating. They weren't floating, but they were covered in water. I said, "Oh, this is great." So I started pumping water out for the next hour and a half or two while I fished, and haven't fixed it yet. And I don't know if my motor will even run because the last time I went and I tried to put it on the trailer. I went to power it on the trailer and it bogged down. So who knows? I thought the weights were like, the weight shocked me because typically 30 to 33 pounds, 32 pounds, 31 pounds, 30 pounds is like the sweet spot if you want to win. And the river's always dicked up during the boat show. It never fails. No matter how crappy it is, somebody typically has like a good like 17-pound day, 16-pound day. But you don't it must have been really hard yesterday. It'll be interesting to see what the weather they got today. It should be probably better, maybe. I don't know. I was pretty shocked at the weights that my old buddy Blaine leading yesterday. We'll see how he did today. I talked to him last night, and he says he's going to change some things up. I don't know that he said he's going to go back to where he went yesterday. He's going to go somewhere different and try to put the nail in the coffin. But you would think, like, even with the river being up, the causeway should have been pumping out some fish, dude. Because there's grass out there. Like Chocolata's got grass in it. There's a lot of there's stuff to fish around that should be holding plenty of threes. Maybe it's just too early. Yeah, that's the fun thing about the boat show, dude, is that like typically I feel like anybody has a chance because like it's not out of the question to go catch 18 pounds a day. And if you had, 8, 9, 10 pounds yesterday, you can make a big move. Brian, it's always been terrible. That's typically why I never fished it. It never made any sense to me that it was always a 2-day. It was a 2-day tournament, but it paid out like a 1-day tournament. Like it only paid like $2,000. I don't know what it pays now, but like winning $1,000 a day is not at all. Like I said, I don't know what they pay out now, but it can't be much. It's not inviting. You don't see the purse and be like, ooh. Let me go. Like, I can't wait. Like, I'll just go try, and I don't even like, have a chance to win. But for 10 grand, I'll go try. It's not appealing at all. It was always really shitty payout. Um, yeah, no boats, no giving away boats. The coolest thing back in the day to me about winning the boat show tournament was uh, you get in the newspaper. Me and Keith were talking about that a couple days ago. I was like, dude, the win was worth just getting in the newspaper. I was like, but that shit doesn't happen anymore. And I think the entry fee was 200, and they only pay out 90%. And I also don't like that they launch at Live Oak the first day, and then they launch at the Causeway the second. I think it should be a Causeway tournament. If you're gonna make them come down to the Causeway, you might as well make them stay down at the Causeway. You know what I mean? And if you want to run up to Alabama, run up to damn Alabama. You're gonna have to do it tomorrow anyway. I don't know. I think that makes it more interesting when you put everybody on the bottom end. There's enough tournaments at a Live Oak. You know what I mean? Like, make that one the damn Crabber's Delight. So, yeah, I would think. I would think a lot of people would have went south anyway. So you're just kind of doing them a favor. I don't know. But we will know, I guess, in about an hour and a half what the boys did down there. BFL today, I seen boats from Ontario, Iowa, Michigan, Nebraska, Mississippi, Ohio, Illinois, Missouri, the partridge in a pear tree. All at Kentucky Lake for a BFL? That's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. What's up, Michael Bradley? Oh, what's up, Jerry? Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why that many people would be traveling from that far for a BFL. Oh, the PSA was that I haven't shipped baits from the Bagley baits that sold last week. Kinds of rat baits. Weird. I guess they're just traveling around fishing whatever they can on their way to the next event. I don't know. Practicing for the Toyota, yeah, maybe make more sense. There was a boat when we fished that Triton deal up there. There was a guy that stayed next to us, and he had a TR-22, and like, you still don't see that many TR-22s, and they're badass boats. And his was like immaculate, and we walked over there and talked to him. And there's actually one down here for sale, and it's black. And I would really like if I just had and the dude doesn't want that much for it. I think he wants I don't know, 15 grand. It's got new power on it, but it's like blacked out everything. It's a badass looking boat, and I think it's got a Yamaha on it though. But it's got like a HPDI VMAX. It doesn't have like a show or anything on it. So I didn't like that. And it's got American flag power poles, which I also don't like. Like, you've got your boat blacked out, and then you put flag poles on it, like make them black and like finish it off. But I don't know. I'd like to have it. It's nice. It's a badass boat. But anyway, I was talking to that guy, and I was like, "Where are you from?" Running a TR-22. He's like, "Oh, we're from Michigan or somewhere like really far up, or Pennsylvania or somewhere." And I was like, "Where do you?" He's like, "We fish like one of the Great Lakes or something." I was like, "Oh, that's why you're on a TR-22." He's like, "Yeah, it's a great boat for like rough water." And started looking at it like closer, and you can see all the stress cracks in it from banging like in all the joints on the inside of the cap. It was pretty beat up once you really like inspected it. Um, Mine's black, Brian, and it doesn't get that hot. Um, I think I think you reach a point where like, and I'm gonna put when I recarpet my boat, I'm gonna recarpet it with like dark charcoal, and I had dark carpet before, and to me it doesn't get any more hot than like you're gonna cook anyway. I don't feel like it makes you any more hot. Uh, uh, but yeah, I watched some live yesterday. It was pretty funny. So I got into the shop and I was piddling around doing some bullshit, and I was like, "Oh, let's see what the boys on Toledo were doing." Um, and I watched him for a minute, and it was Stetson Blaylock, and he had his hand in his pocket, and he was holding his rod down, and he was just trolling around out in open water. Kind of what I figured. And I watched him for about 20 minutes, and they showed him for the most of that. Like 15 minutes was just him. And I was like, "Well, this is pretty shitty." So I'm gonna go paint some stuff. So I went and painted, like dicked around out there for a couple hours, came back in here, said, "Well, let's see, let's see what's going on." So brought it back up, refreshed it, started the live stream again, back on Stetson Blaylock. Guess what he was doing? The exact same thing. Hand in the pocket, trolling around. I was like, "Is this what I watched earlier?" And I looked and I was like, "No, this is live. This is different." But they're back on him. Uh, so if you really want some entertainment, go to the YouTube live Bassmasters footage and just read the live commentary. It is literally nothing but a pissing match between electronics people and regular fishing people. And that's what I was talking to Eric about, is that yesterday me and Eric were talking, and I was like, "Dude, people don't like I think the fishing industry is so like blinded by like arguing and stirring up shit and bitching about stuff and like proving internet points to internet people, that like people don't care about baits and like fishing techniques and like shit like that. They just want the drama, dude. They just want the damn drama. They just want to talk shit to people. Um, like they don't care about like what they're doing. Nobody talks about, "Hey, what bait is that guy throwing? Hey, what size? How deep is he fishing? Hey, what kind of, you know, what what are these guys fishing over? Is there trees out there? Is there brush piles? Is it open water?" Nobody asks that shit. They just go back and forth and bitch about forward facing and not forward facing. Uh, Pretty odd. Pretty odd. So when you hear people in the industry say that live scopes killing bait sales and shit like that, it's like, is it really forward facing, or is it just the fact that that's what everybody is talking about. You know what I mean? Like if they were talking about baits, they would probably talk about people would probably buy more baits. 2 9s caught on camera. That's pretty impressive. The more I hear James talk, the more I like him. You can watch it with the screen mirroring, but yeah, it doesn't suck you in. I will say watching Hackney flip one out of a mat was pretty fun the first day. I did see that. Jason Christie catching that big one on a spinnerbait was pretty good. But then there was some guy, like that's what was so interesting about the comments is that like you could show Jason Christie catch a 5-pounder on a spinnerbait up in some bushes. And there was people in the comments that were like, "Oh wow, great, yeah, this is awesome, showing the guy in 78th place." It's like, I mean, he just caught a 5-pounder on a spinnerbait. Like, that's pretty exciting. If he's in dead last, it shouldn't fucking matter. But like, but that guy apparently would rather not see Jason Christie fish and catch a 5-pounder on a spinnerbait in 2 foot of water. He would rather see Stetson Blaylock with his fucking hand in his pocket, holding his dick, trolling around through the middle of the lake. And that kind of makes me scratch my head. So it's odd, very odd, very odd. And then there's also the group that today they were in there going nuts because I guess Ben Milliken didn't make the top 10 or whatever. Whoever got cameras, like if you were inside the top 10, you got a camera. He wasn't in the top 10. And these guys were raising hell that Bass did not put a camera on Ben Milliken because Ben has brought more people into bass fishing than anybody in the last 20 years. Which is not true. I'm sure he's got some people into fishing, but he hasn't done nearly what the Guggen squad did. Like any of those guys, I feel like squash Milliken as far as how many people they've brought into fishing. But and then there was people in the comments trying to explain to the guy that like, hey, you know, he didn't make the top 10, so, and they were like, I don't care. He should still, like, as popular as he is, and more, the people want to see Ben. It's like, well, it doesn't work like that, dude. Like, people, like, if Kevin Van Dam's fishing and he's in 98th place, should the guy that's in 10th place be taken away and Kevin be put in? No, because that's bullshit. So, I mean, I think it's when you mix these, like, I don't know if it's a generational thing. It's like old people versus young people, or if it's just like internet people versus like people that live in the real world, or what it is. But it's interesting. But everybody got in there and just wanted to throw in their 2 cents. This sucks. and then as soon as one person would say this sucks, there would be, you know, another person be like, this doesn't suck. Just because you can't afford forward facing. That's usually the argument. So World Black caught an 8.15 today. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I bet that was fun. I didn't know he had a FBD campaign going on which I guess you could probably use your imagination as what that stands for. Um, but he didn't have his hat on the first day, his FBD hat. And somebody in the comments was like, "Oh, I see you're like being a bitch and you took your FBD hat on off." And he's like, he responded, he's like, I talked to my sponsors and they preferred if I didn't wear it. So they pay my bills. So I was happy to oblige them and take the hat off. No big deal. Flip boat docks. I think some people were under the impression that it meant fuck boy duck it, but I think it has a dual meaning, maybe. I don't know. That was what I was under the impression of. Or does he, or is that like a moniker that he uses to cloak his F boy ducket? I've never heard him talk about it, but what it was really about. I did see him put the fish boat docks, but I never saw where he was like, I never saw him like make the joke. Dana White should try to schedule a match between James and Boyd. That would be pretty interesting. I would have to say Boyd would get crushed. Rick Clunn is an icon, but watching him fish without commentary on camera would be like putting hot needles in my eyes. Dude, the sound guy at Bass needs to get fired. Because their mics are so low, you can't hear anything. Anytime one of the like pros would come up on stage the first day at the weigh-in, Rick Clunn was unintelligible or like unhearable. When Mercer put the mic up to Clunn, it was like less than a whisper. And then the guys that like spoke loud, you couldn't even hear them. And that was pretty terrible. Commentary of Ike and Cruz. Ike's first day weigh-in was really odd. Obviously, he was pissed about his little puny sack he weighed in. But what did he say? What did Ike say when he went off stage the first day? I can't remember, but it was just bizarre. It's got to be Johnny. I mean, I don't know why he'd keep. The thing about it is, like, I understand that he wants to. That if he slows down, that's when you start to diminish. You know what I mean? Like if he quits traveling and he quits fishing and practicing, he's going to start winding down. I think if he's going to go out, he's going to go out burning. You know what I mean? But I still feel like you could keep the fire alive by like taking guide trips. Maybe he doesn't want to do that, but I think that would be like it. Just think about it. If he could charge out the ass and make way more money probably doing that than fishing Bassmaster tournaments and coming in 98th place. I mean, he could charge $1,000 a day and guide 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and I guarantee you he'd be booked. $7,000 a week? Kidding me? Not too bad. But that would keep him fishing every day, and he'd, get to meet probably some cool people. I don't know. That's what I'd do. I'd just guide somewhere. And if you're going out with Rick Clunn, it doesn't even matter if you catch shit. You know what I mean? You're just out there with Rick Clunn. Like, who cares? I know if I pay Rick Clunn $1,000 to go fishing, I don't give a rat's ass if we catch a bass. Do not care. You're paying for an experience. You're paying for the Rick Clunn experience, just to go out there and tell you stories. Lots of stories, exactly. Rick, just answer my questions. Pretty much it. Favorite stage comment Ike was last year. Mercer asked if there was anything else he'd like to add. Ike replied, nope, really pissed off and walked away. Dude, I need to find Ike's weigh-in speech yesterday. It was very odd. It was funny, but you could tell he was about to erupt. Interviewed Clunn on your channel 8 to 10 years ago. It's hard to think that he was a spring chicken 8 to 10 years ago. 10 years. Just think if you could shave 10 years off your life. Going from 80 to 70, he would probably feel like a damn teenager. So yeah, I don't know. Worldwide is called an 8. Well, it sounds like there's some action going down. Not in the Mobile Delta, but other places. 13 pounds was leading the tournament down here yesterday. A whopping 13. There was the guy in second place, I believe, had a 692 big fish, which is very large for down here. And he was in second with 13 pounds. So for him today, I would probably bet every piece of tackle in my boat shop possession that gentleman is not going to have a 692 today, or a 6, or a 5. So you can probably count him out, because he wasn't on I guess he was on 2s, not even 2s, pound and a halfers. He had 4 pound and a halfers and a 6. So he wasn't on like a good grade of fish. He was just on one freak. And what is the Mobile Bay bass record? I don't know. My dad's buddy back in the 70s caught an 8-pounder. I'm sure there's people that have caught a 10-pounder. I don't know. I need to ask. What's the biggest bass ever caught on the Delta? I wouldn't think it's over 10, which is odd. Actually, I do know there was a 10-pounder caught on the lower end, supposedly. But yeah, I mean, who knows? But as hot as it is down here, it's all the salt kills them, or it doesn't kill them. It does kill them, but it stunts their growth. But up the river, you would think you would see a few more big ones. I just think they live hard and die fast, man. They're like rock stars down here. They do lots of drugs, party hard, and they're gone. And then occasionally they party like that, and you got a Keith Richards that strolls in. It's 100 years old, weighs 9 pounds, and he's like 1 in a million. Somehow made it. Listen to Leonard Skinner. Yes, Bass could probably sing Sweet Home. Can guarantee that. There's probably enough pontoons and John boats and shit driving around Blair and Skinnerd that snorting salt. Snorting ground crab. Snorting grass shrimp is what they do down here. Seed shrimp. But anyway, all right, I got to go home and take care of the babies. Y'all be good. Good talking to everybody. Hope y'all have a good rest of the weekend. Let's watch the weigh-in and see if we can come back and have a little chat if somebody says anything funny. Y'all be good. Have a good rest of your weekend. Maybe we'll talk tomorrow. Maybe Monday. Maybe, who knows. Y'all be good. See you.